Laurie, thanks so much for joining me. How's it going today?
Great. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh, me too. We were just talking offline, and I'm like, okay, we could just chat all day long. But I'm so excited to share this conversation with the Market Authority Show. So thank you for being so generous with your time and hopping on for a convo. And for those who don't know you yet, can you give us the quick version of who you are, where you're working, and kind of what business for you looked like before we started working together?
Sure. So, Laurie Brooks, I'm a real estate agent it's Boerne, Texas. It's just north of San Antonio. So, San Antonio and then like surrounding areas. I've been in real estate for 3 years in April. Before that, I was in the corporate world. So, it was a big change for me. But I love it. I love every bit of it. Before I joined the Market Authority Academy, I didn't have much business, maybe a couple deals a year. And I was just a little bit lost. I didn't know what to do. I didn't feel like I had a great brokerage that did great training, but I just didn't know what to do next. And I felt very kind of defeated and wasn't sure if I was going to keep going.
That's a tough place to be, and it's interesting because when you and I had a conversation, I was like, "What do you mean?" There's so much that we could do here, and it was really clear to me that you had a lot of the right pieces in place to build a really successful business. So fast forward, and then we'll get into the details of how you did it. But where are you at today versus where that was back then?
Yeah. So I think anytime you have a career change, I've always been successful in different jobs that I've had. And so I was expecting that success to be immediate. And I think that was what the most discouraging piece to me was because it took some time to build the business. So today, I really love what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. I love taking care of people. I love serving clients. I love being in the community and being a part of my kids' lives and just all the things that for me, it's not just about the transaction. It's definitely the relationship along the way. And that's what I love. But because it's so much a part of who I am, it's become a very um, prosperous business for me. So I went from maybe a couple deals a year, and then last year I closed 11 million in sales, and
Excellent.
so I'm doing much better.
Yeah. How is this year? How do you feel like this year is going to shape up so far? I feel like you've been very busy.
Well, it takes some time. It depends, like if seasonality changes, and
Right.
I wish you could predict. Like last year, it was the first quarter that was really busy. This year, it's right now. So I wish it was predictable, like different industries. This one is not.
Mhm.
But this year, I right now I've in escrow. I have over 5 million to
Wow.
close by May. So I'm doing well.
That's
I'm on
exciting.
track.
Congratulations. And all of that is a result of being very consistent, sticking to the plan and pulling through and just like really following through. I'm curious, was there a moment that you thought, okay, this is really working? Like where was a turning point for you to start seeing like things are clicking, things are working, and you knew with confidence that you were on a better path?
Well, as you know, my journey changed a little bit. I kind of was not sure of myself. So I joined a team, left a team. And so that whole transition too made me a little bit unsure of myself. But I think the biggest thing, I mean, the systems that you bring to the table, and I'm really great. I just need to know what to do and I do it.
Yeah.
So the fact that I had systems to put in place really helped me. And there's still pieces of me, if I'm really honest, there's still pieces of me that have a little bit of like, okay, am I still doing it right? Am I still going? But I've just consistently seen that as long as I'm taking care of people and showing up every day, it continues to come. So the closings come, but for me, and I got this advice early on, but as long as I'm doing what I know I need to do, like checking my boxes, hitting my metrics, then that's where the confidence comes for me.
Tell me a little bit more about that. Are you using stuff like the lead tracker and different pieces in that we give you in the market authority for that? Or have you kind of MacGyvered it into your own situation?
Well, so again, coming from like not knowing anything, but knowing that I need systems in business. So I established a CRM, like we've talked about in Market Authority, the Follow Up Boss.
Mhm.
I established just systems through Asana, like you talk about in follow up or in the market authority. But the other piece of it is, yes, like the metrics tracker. And we've kind of changed along the way. So I do a lead gen tracker. Am I perfect at it? Nope. And that's the nice thing is that you've encouraged me all along the way that I don't have to be perfect. So I'm consistent. I'm not perfect. So I also like that. A big piece for me was to see where my leads were coming from. So I knew where the business was coming. And so tracking allows us to do that. Um, so those pieces, I think just for me, I'm a metrics driven person. I'm super relational, but I'm also data and metrics. And so that helps me kind of like check my boxes along the way.
Yeah. No, I get that. How did knowing what to look for and what was leading to business down the road, how did that change how you showed up in your business or with clients or with other agents?
Well, as you know, the first brokerage that I had really pushed open houses. And I actually love, if you know me, I love open houses because I'm really good in front of people. Like I like talking to people and getting to know them. I like one-on-one interactions.
Mhm.
But what we had to look at is, but it's kind of exhausting if you're every Saturday and Sunday you're doing open houses. And so we had to look at is where's the business coming from and what other facets. And I think that's what changed how I'm showing up, right? I started realizing that isn't the only thing, the only aspect of my business. And also, I want to be present with my kids and my family and my friends. And so, how can I integrate who I am into the business was a really big change of showing up. So now for me, like I see this as a business of building relationship and taking care of people, not just selling homes. And so that makes it so much easier for me to like keep going every day because it's just who I am.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Did that a lot of that process, and I don't know how much you want to get into this, and we don't have to get into it in detail, but a lot of that process I feel like kind of led you on the path of finding the right community, like the right real estate community outside of market authority. I think that you've benefited hugely from the warm culture that we have in market authority. The brokerage matters, the team matters, and you went through some transitions there, and now you're really happy where you're at. How did the systems help guide that decision making for you?
Well, I think the beginning was your approach, right? So when I first started in real estate, I thought you had to door knock and I thought you had to like that's what the advice was given, like door knock, cold call. And that's not who I am. I mean, I can do it. I can do anything for a little bit, but it's not fun and that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And so I really loved your attraction-based business model. And that's what I wanted. People who wanted to work with me. And so that was what that started. That was the trajectory of seeing something different.
Mhm.
And so from there, I wanted to find a community where people were taking care of people. And I modeled I had mentors that were like doing that in their community in different ways. And I've taken bits and pieces and kind of put my spin on it. But that was a big difference. But I would say it wasn't necessarily my brokerage as much as it was you gave me the market authority and the ability to see it differently than what I was hearing early on.
Yeah. And then at what point did you decide like, okay, I want to make changes. I need a better fit. Just because you did go through like a brokerage change recently, what was something that you were looking for in addition to the business systems that you had? Because I feel like you had a really good setup internally. Things were rocking and rolling and you were doing the right work. What did you want in terms of a brokerage? I was going to complement that. Just curious from the outside looking in.
Ok, so a big piece of my business, a couple things. So a big piece of my business model is social media, YouTube, growing that social wise. And so videography was an important thing,
Mhm.
but that's not really at the heart of what I was looking for. What I was looking for was community
Yeah.
and collaboration. So community, like real life community, someone that could come alongside me and encourage me, somebody that I could ask, do you have a contractor for this?
Yeah.
And that wasn't competing against me, but was really like really looking to encourage and be a team player. Granted, we're all agents under a brokerage, but we're not competing against one another. We're trying to really help each other along the way. And I think the other part of that is it's a leadership down. So other brokerages, I had great training on paperwork, but it wasn't. It didn't. I felt like I was still on an island,
Mhm.
and that for me is not the best environment because this is a hard business at times. There's emotions, there's things that happen. If you don't have somebody that you can just pick up the phone and call, it's hard. It gets hard.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's so many pieces that you need to be successful in real estate. And one thing that I've been thinking a lot this year is how you just don't really understand the ramifications of becoming a real estate agent until you're really in it. It's like you really have to go through that learning curve to understand like what's expected of you truly and what you have to kind of create yourself. Um, I'm just wondering, like, if you could tell yourself anything, like the you 3 years ago, what would it be?
Be yourself.
Mm,
Because who I am, and then I think like I want to provide value. That's important to me.
mhm,
But in being myself, I provide value because I really do care. So I'm going to go the extra mile. I'm looking at the data. I'm knowing my market. I'm taking care of people. I'm thinking about all the things that my clients are thinking about, and I'm definitely a big time communicator, so I want them to know I'm thinking about this. I'm processing this. So and I think there's a lot of pressure to like you could make it a lot of pressure to be equal to other people, but there's so many agents and people pick you for you. And that's what I think I would tell myself.
yeah. What specifically are people choosing you for, do you think?
Uh, the genuine care, authenticity that I
How do
really
they feel it? Like, how do you explain that to them? Because I feel like that's such a hard thing to market. Is it from the word of mouth referral, or are they seeing it
okay.
from, like, the first meeting, or where do you think that's coming through?
Well, I'm thinking about specific deals. That's why in my
Yeah,
brain.
I wanna hear specifics, yeah, for sure.
So for example, my like the latest thing that I just got under contract, these are first time home buyers. I met them at an open house. And so I hadn't known them before, but I was really honest about certain situations in the community or just what to look out for. That's one thing for me. I'm not going to walk in a house and say, you love it? Okay, you love it. I'm going to bring up the other things that you might need to think about, whether that's area, school district, things in the house. I'm just thinking about resale value. I'm thinking about long-term investment for people. And I'm going to share that. So these clients, they actually put an offer, and they didn't love it. There was multiple offers, so I didn't push them to go any more because I knew they didn't love it.
Mhm,
There was another house they wanted to see that went off market, and I keep track of all this stuff, and I look every day. And I saw it came back on market, and I said, "Hey, do you want to go see it?" So that day we went and saw it that evening,
mhm,
and that evening they wanted to put an offer in. They were going to put a full price offer in, and I said, it's back on market. Let's see if we can push a little bit. And they're like, okay, they trusted me. And so we pushed. I was able to get them a significant amount of closing cost. And I had a conversation with the other agent, what was important, all of those things. So I communicate well with the other side as well to help create a win-win, and it worked out for them. And the lender even commented that I set up a killer deal, and they're like, we love you. Those are the things that you can't. I'm thinking along the process, I'm strategizing, but I'm also still caring about like where their heart really is, what they told me, and how can I get there, how can I help them reach their goals.
yeah. I feel like, and not to put words in your mouth, but only because the conversation came up this week in Market Authority. One of the tools that we use in order to kind of learn that skill, to understand how to communicate and what to communicate, is the brand builder. And truly understanding how to get into what matters to clients and how can we lean into that as a way to be more competitive as a real estate agent. I wonder if you can speak to that at all, or if that was just a valuable tool in kind of developing that.
I would say the brand builder and the ideal client.
Mhm,
The ideal client helps a lot for me for like just processing through what I'm, parameters and when I'm looking who I'm speaking to.
mhm.
But as far as the brand builder, I think for me, it just gave me clarity on what I'm like looking at people from a different perspective. Because again, I have my way I'm hearing and seeing things, but I need to speak to the person I'm speaking to. So I think the clarity and just the refinement of the process really was a big piece of that to help.
Yeah. I bring it up because I'm hearing so much of the value of communication from you. And when we talk to agents, before they join Market Authority, that seems to be one of their biggest pain points. They're just afraid of saying the wrong thing, or they're not sure how to start the communication. They're not sure how to carry it through. And even a lot of times they know they can handle more business, but they almost self-sabotage. They almost keep themselves from really going all in and getting the business because they're not sure they can do a really good job, especially if it's referral or repeat, if they get too busy. Did you go through that at all? Or were you like, you know what, I got it. I'm just going all in and I trust that I can handle it?
So there's day like even today, current market, I would say I feel very busy.
Mhm.
And part of that, people would maybe say that I should outsource different things. I You can call it control, but I care service. So I want them to feel like I'm the face, but I have learned how to outsource different things like TC, social media, different things that are support for me. And that was a huge difference. I don't think I ever got to a point where I didn't feel like I could handle it, because to me it's still, I'm talking to people's relationships.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that as much as like the behind the scenes. I think at one point I almost forgot to do a survey on time, and that's the point where I was like, oh my gosh, I need some help.
Yeah. Let's actually talk about that because last year you went through the process of hiring a VA, which I think is a major game changer. Like there's our lives before having a VA, our business, I guess, before having a VA, and then after having that support. Walk me through some of the, I guess you kind of mentioned it, but tell me more about like the hesitancies to making that first step and what made it successful for you. Because so far, from my perspective, I feel that you and your VA have had a really successful onboarding and training so far.
So the VA came up because I was on a team and I was getting busy on the team, and I saw some support, but not the support I needed. And I thought maybe if I went on my own, I could get my own support so that's where it started. And I had heard you talk so much about VAs that I knew I needed some sort of leverage. And for me, again, social media is a big piece of what I'm like to continue to educate and help people on a much broader spectrum than just me going one on one. So that was, and also it takes me forever to do Canva, and like all, it just takes me a long time. So I didn't think that was a good use of my time. So that was my ultimate, like, the reason why I was starting to do it is because I saw how much time I was quote unquote wasting
Mhm.
trying to be a good resource on this. So I interviewed specifically, or I picked a VA specifically for social media and like marketing support, not to think of a marketing plan, but to actual do the things. And also, I think the other piece that has really helped me with that is that I have somebody that's supporting me and helping me on the other side. So I'm not scrolling Instagram all the time, right? Like I have some ideas, I'm watching metrics of what works, and then we're working together, collaborating, but it's not me like creating. I take videos and do pictures and do all the things, but I have the support on the other end that has really freed up that time.
Were you able to leverage the market authority systems and training that person and bringing them on board?
Well, I picked them because of the market authority. But the thing about it is that they've worked with market authority, so they knew our systems and our plans. And yes, so there's different aspects of market authority, and one of them is specific to like the social media, the branding
Yeah.
piece of it. So we worked on that together. I had her go through some of the things. I had her work on that, so she knew what my vision was without me having to sit down and tell her everything. So that was the nice thing is that. And we're doing it again so we can refine refine some of the things in my business. So we're going through it on a broader spectrum now because she knows the business a lot better. But it just was another tool for me that alleviated some time. Or it gave me time back,
Mhm.
and it was allowing her to kind of understand on a different level than just me talking of what I was looking for.
Yeah. What tools are you guys using on a daily basis? Like what are your, I know you mentioned Follow Boss, you mentioned Asana, but what are your, if it's those, mention those, what are the ride or die tools that you guys are using each day to make sure that you can keep everything running smoothly?
Mm, well, Google Docs.
Yeah.
Like, I have w- so yes, CRM, so Follow Up Boss.
Mhm.
We're dabbling in Asana. I need to work on that a little bit more. I'm like, but we do a lot with like Google Docs, and so we keep track of that with Excel spreadsheets, and
Yeah.
Canva is a number major thing that we use all the time, especially for her. For me, I use some other things. Flowdesk, we just we went to Flowdesk for my email. That was a
Good.
goal I this year to get into that, and I really love how it's going.
Is the
Um,
VA managing that for you too? Or is that the plan?
she is,
Okay.
yes. She's helping with that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, tell me, okay. Let me kind of go back because there's a lot going on in your business. How do you know you are doing the right things each day? And part of that you mentioned like tracking the metrics and things, but how do you have confidence that you're doing the right things each day and you're delegating the right things? Just like walk me through that process a little bit.
So the biggest thing is what I have to be forward facing on. And I know I have to do that, right? So she can't, I'm not having her call my clients, or like the things where it has to be Lori there. And then also the really high technical things. I do that. Like I can read data. So when we do the market updates, I'm doing that. There might be some refining. Um, so how do I, those are two questions. How do I stay on track? There's a system, power hours, being on plan, having days of the week that I know that things are going to happen. That helps me stay on
So
track. Does
you're
it?
utilizing like the theme days that we do, you're using
Yes.
all those.
Yes.
Did you modify them at all to your business, just how you do things, or is it pretty
I d- I have, yes, I have modified them. I like so my CRM has hot and warm and cold clients,
Mhm.
and then extra, and then that piece of it, I've one of the things that was the most helpful probably for me was my active clients, or my clients that I'm working on. Every Tuesday, I give them a report. That helped me because when things weren't happening, you and I had this conversation, but when things weren't happening, I was nervous to have a conversation, but they want to hear from you.
Yeah.
And so I started, that really helped me, and that got me on track, because I think it goes back to what you were saying. Um, I was nervous to have that conversation if it didn't see it was going well, but I still need to have the conversation. So now it's just a metric I hit.
Mm.
And then Fridays is where I'm supposed to be doing wrap up. That doesn't always happen because I have different involvement things, like I'm doing networking, or I'm with the kids' school. I do volunteer work. So there's certain things that I've changed, but it's the idea of hot clients, active clients, my pipeline, or my what do you call? Mm,
Pipeline.
just the people that I want to talk to. And then I do set a lot of appointments, and it gives me a way of saying, okay, I haven't talked to this person in a while. Do you want to go to coffee? But there's timelines to that.
I want to talk a little bit more to the Tuesday client check-ins because I feel like that's something that someone who's listening can begin implementing right away. And I found that that was really helpful for me too. So if you're listening, you're like, wait, go back. The the client check-ins on Tuesday for our power hours. That's our prospecting and marketing routine that we do Monday through Friday, first thing in the morning. And we decide what needs to fit in those power hours. And as we're deciding what needs to fit in those power hours, we have a little bit of something different each day of the week just to help mix it up. Tuesdays are our current client check ins. And that's when you're reaching out to listings that are sitting on the market, nothing's really happening, or pending listings where you're waiting between, milestones or due diligence periods. Same thing for buyers who are like either actively shopping, sometimes we'll reach out to them, or mostly it's for buyers who are under contract. Nothing's really going on. We're waiting on underwriting or repairs or whatever. What is that? Excuse me. What does that process look like a little bit for you? Like, what do you mentioned you're sending them a report. Is it just kind of off the cuff, different every time, or do you have something prepared?
No, I have, so there's a way for me to look at showing data, what's showing in the zip code and what's showing specific to the neighborhood. So I break that down and I analyze the data for them, and I kind of explain to them what's going on. I maybe do it over the last month or the week, so that if there's less showings, that they understand, okay, it's not just me not getting any showings.
Nice.
That's a big piece. And then there's other pieces that you can see who's looking, which systems they're looking at, like just so that they know, even though people aren't looking in their house, that people are actually still looking at their house online. So I want to give them a peace of mind. And also, this is listings. Also, in that conversation, I want them to know that I'm paying attention, I'm strategizing, I'm looking at the market, I'm actually talking to other agents in the neighborhoods at times to
Mhm.
see what they're strategy or if things are going well, or if we want to partner up. So that is what that Tuesday looks like. At first, I had nothing to say and I didn't know what to do. So now at least they feel better that I'm doing. I want them to know that I'm thinking and seeing and doing, and communicating that in a way that gives them some sort of peace. Buyer side, it's a little bit easier because it's a shorter timeline and you have more control over it. So it's just giving them updates and sometimes it's keeping on track, like, hey, this is due. We have timelines for everything, but I want to like, okay, this is what I've done and this is where we're at going next. I have a TC, but so the TC really could do all of that, but I want to have a personal conversation and touch with them.
Yeah. I think that's really important, especially since you've recognized that one of your strengths and one of the things that people love you for is that relationship building, just making sure to build in that time and accountability for yourself to be making those natural touch points goes above and beyond. Is that something that they say at the end of the transaction or mention in the reviews that like, oh, she was always on it?
Yes, proactive.
Yeah.
Um, I think I get the feeling of them feeling well cared for, and that's what I, that's what matters to me.
Yeah.
I
Have
don't
you had
want them to have surprises, and I know that's not, um, I can't prevent everything, but I want to make sure that sometimes this is a roller coaster ride, and I want them to feel the littlest bumps. I'll carry it as much as I can for them, so that it feels like a smooth process to simplify it for them.
Are there any other systems that you have in place specifically that come to mind that help you keep those bumps really minimal? Because I think that that communication piece is really important. Off the top of your head, are there any other like tactics or strategies or systems that also kind of give that same feel?
Well, I don't know if it's a tactic, but I live by my calendar.
Okay.
So I have option period, like in everybody's different, but I have like deadlines on my calendar. So it's top of mind and I'm like reviewing all of that top of mind all the time. And if I don't, you can tell when that's not happening because then I'm like, oh, this didn't happen. So I'm sure there's a better system.
I
This,
think the best system is the one that you use, honestly,
yes.
right?
Right, exactly, you've said that, you've said that. So my calendar is a big one. I actually have a calendar, so I have a digital calendar, and I actually have a calendar in my bathroom. People think that might be weird, but I'm in there every day getting ready, and so I can see it and I can see what's going on. It's just like an acrylic one that I write on.
Yeah,
Most
that's
people
actually
probably
kind
have
of
it in their
brilliant.
kitchen, but I'm in my bathroom. So I like so that anyways, that's what I do.
No, that is actually brilliant. I love that.
Well,
There's a perfect spot in
cute, how
my
many followers
bathroom.
that is super cute, but on my side.
I need you to go onto Instagram this week and post that in your stories. Post a picture. I need to see proof.
Okay, you got it.
That's so smart. Do you do any other kind of time blocking or like monthly or quarterly planning just to help stay on top of everything?
Okay, so another piece of it is marketing. I have a quarterly marketing plan. I'm looking at that every month so that I can like we're kind of being ahead. So I'm thinking right now, I have a thing in May, I have a thing in June. I'm like, all right, in my VA helps with some of the marketing pieces of that, like the development of the stuff. Quarterly, I look back over what's happened the month before. I also have a quarterly, like it's a market authority piece where it's can't remember the action plan. Is that what it's called? And I have in a whole year, and then I try to break it up in chunks. And it's interesting because I was just looking at it, and I was like, "Ah, I hit some goals early." So
Oh,
it helps me that it doesn't become overwhelming. I think that's the piece is it doesn't become overwhelming when I take it in quarterly chunks versus the whole year. It seems so big. And so that piece of it, and then what was the like the monthly?
yeah, just in general, like time blocking or quarterly planning. But it
Oh,
sounds like, yeah.
time blocking. So again, to me, time blocking, people say time blocking all the time.
Mhm.
To me, it's I stay on my calendar. I stay true to my calendar and I know what can move and what can't move. There's some things I've moved a few times now, and it's almost gotten to the point where I'm like dreading to go back. And I
Can you give
realized,
me some examples?
yes, I had to take videos for YouTube,
Okay.
and I stockpiled them, and now I'm outsourcing. And
Uh-huh.
so now I have to take new videos and I'm like a little bit rusty. So I'm a little nervous. So I've been moving that. So I mean, I know I can't move that anymore. Right.
Mhm.
I have networking events that I do. It's like part of my networking events is one of the goals that you have on Wednesdays, but I do that. It's to build community, to get a resource for my clients so that I can be a connector for people. It's not just at real estate, but as much as I can, I want people to feel like they're in the right place. That's why I do a lot of networking.
Yeah.
And those things don't move. And then like there's some kid stuff, but for the most part, that's time blocking for me is knowing what I can and can't move, and I stick to the schedule as much as I can.
Yeah. I I feel like real estate agents hear that, and then the moment they have to move something once, they feel like they failed. Do you feel like that, or do you give yourself like a little bit of grace?
I just push it down the calendar line.
You just push it down. You keep it visible. You're just making sure it's on
Why?
there, but you're just kind of like
I don't
adjusting.
feel like I failed. I just move it. I mean, granted, I just was really honest about the videos. Like, I don't feel like I'm failing. I feel like I know I need to kickstart back into it because it's hard to get like it's like when you stop going to the gym and then you go back to it takes a lot of energy to go back to the gym.
To get that
That's
momentum again.
it's the momentum.
Yeah.
But I also think there's value in pausing and resetting. I do have that. That's one thing I'm trying to do is at a 90-day mark, pause, celebrate,
Mhm.
reset, because otherwise I'm just continue to spin, and that's not healthy either.
So walk me through that quarterly 90-day reset. Did you put it on your calendar through the full year for like which days specifically each quarter you're going to be doing that, or do you plan it as the month comes around?
I plan it as the month comes around
Okay.
because for me, if I just put it on a day, like it's almost like a rolling thing in my head, but like if I put it on a day, I'm afraid that's going to have to move. So I know like right now, I'm a little bit behind, but like I have one coming up Friday or no, next week,
Mhm.
and like the 30th, and so I know it's coming, and I'm like not. It's almost a sacred time that I'm not going to move again.
Yeah.
The other thing I forgot to talk about is I was taking like 6 weeks to go back over and kind of like taking a day to work on my business. We're in kind of a busy season right now, so that's dropped off. I probably need to bring that back up
Is
to
that
like
the in-service day?
yes, the answer.
That that I think is one of the best hacks, especially if you are in a slower season and you can take off. So if you're listening to this, you don't know what an in-service day is. It's one of the market authority time blocks. An in-service day, and we do this internally in our business as well. Every seventh Wednesday, we schedule it out through the entire year. Every seventh Wednesday, we take the day off. We block off the calendars. You cannot reach us. We are working on predetermined projects. The month prior, when we see that we have an in-service day coming up, we're identifying like which two, like 1 to 2 projects, because that's all we can get done in a day. But 1 to 2 projects that we want to get done, and we're not doing client work. We're not doing anything but focusing on that stuff. So that's what was. Do you remember the last one that you did? What you got done? Just curious.
No, so sorry.
No.
I wish I did. It had to do training with VA. It was something to do with the training, and I don't know which part of it was. I was training the VA, but it had something to do with training of the VA. I will tell you what I've noticed and what you're good at, and what I struggle with and I need to work on is like I can't imagine right now blocking a hole every 7 week and not having anybody get a hold of me. Like, I think there's boundaries are one of my things I wanna work on, right? You know this, and so, I'm letting people treat me the way that I'm, allowing. I get that. I think that there's a place where I'm like, "Oh my gosh, if I'm not available, something's gonna fall apart," or,
Yeah.
and so that is probably why I haven't done an in-service in a while because 'cause I've been busier,
Right.
and
Of
I'm like,
course.
I can't take off. So it's a good reminder for me, like, "Okay,
I think there's something also to be said about like knowing what season you're in. So right now we are in the highest transaction volume in my market, and most markets are in their highest transaction volume from like, and that depending on where you are in the country, this like the weather has a lot to do with this in your region. But depending where you're at, that's typically anywhere from like March to June. So for us specifically, it's like February to April, maybe early May. May is our highest transaction volume month for closings typically across the board. And then it's like downhill from there until the end of the year in Phoenix specifically. And so if you know that, yeah, you wouldn't want to be planning a lot of like big, heavy ticket items. You wouldn't want to be planning on like bringing on a new VA during your busiest season. You want to do those during your slowest seasons. And a lot of agents too can get like scared about that too, because they're like, well, what if I don't have the business? Well, that's the point. You bring in the VA when you are slower, when you don't have the business, so that they can help you sow the field and make the business in the next season. And I feel like the timing that you did worked out really well. So it makes sense that you're not focused on a lot of that internal stuff and you're more so managing the many listings that you have going on and all the deals. I swear it's like every week on Instagram, I see you posting about a new listing coming up. And I'm like, there she goes again.
Well, and I think I was thinking like now you gave me time to think about it.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think what we did in my last session was really identify my ideal client and why my ideal client is the way they're F2, and really refine that and define that for her, so that when we're working on media stuff and like things that she's understanding, this is who we're talking to. That really has helped.
Yeah, and that is so I'm so glad you did that. Strategically, that's a really important move because what she's allowing you to do is keep up with the prospecting and marketing when your attention is to fulfilling transactions. And what a lot of agents will do is they get so busy with like the closings and the clients that they have is they stop the marketing and prospecting. So then their business kind of goes off a cliff and they're constantly restarting. So do you feel that you're a little bit more insulated at this point in your business from that kind of thing?
Yes. I mean, we talked about like having like doing ahead of time. Like I have a closing gift that I have in mind for most of my clients. I tweaks it depending on who the person is. But even today I had a closing and it was like my box was pretty well set. I had some changes based on their personalities. Instead of like running around like crazy. When we first talked, I was running around like crazy, like trying to figure out what I was going to buy from every different thing. It was ridiculous. Every month I'm buying a basket, like trying to find.
Yeah.
And so, yes, like and I think tenure as well has allowed me to have confidence in that, okay, I know what I'm doing and I don't have to overproduce to make people feel like I know what I'm doing. But I do feel like I have things that are taken care of. And it makes me, I would say I was riding the roller coaster at the beginning. And I like in the sense of like, okay, now we're going in the transaction. Now I have to identify every single thing. And all I'm focusing on is the transaction versus, okay, this is a well-oiled machine. It's going, so I'm just going to keep walking this way.
Yeah. It's a good place to be. I
I
don't
think it's
and
fun. My family might say that I'm working a little bit much, but the thing about it is they see it as working because I'm gone. I see it as talking to people.
right. But you can build in time, right? So like back to the boundaries. So like specific, I'll just give a specific example. A boundary to me during an in-service day looks like I get a text that's important from a client, but not urgent. And so we say, hey, we're going to get back to this at 3 p.m.
Yes.
You
I
know,
think identifying those, oh, you probably can do it better than me, but like urgent that you need to do, like I communicate quickly. And so some of those I need to like pull back a little
right.
bit.
Right. Is that can this wait till tomorrow or can this wait until 3 p.m. after we've done like most of the focus work, heavy lifting? That's kind of that decision making that we do in the moment. And it took like I've always been pretty good with that because I can detach. Bryce, it took him a lot longer because his not that he like ties up his worth and value into that communication, but he really cares about it. And it's something that I'm not naturally a good communicator and I've had to actually learn that skill. But for him, who his knee jerk reaction is to be there and communicate and to provide service, that's just who he is as a person. He's had to then like that's why we balance each other out really well, but like learn those systems a little bit. But it is a little bit of like you said, 10 years experience. It's trying a couple of different approaches to that until you find how the boundaries make the most sense. But how about the
And
next?
your
Oh,
support. Can I just tell you that's the other thing? I think that's the thing that we did not talk about that is most important is that I don't think I realized as I was doing as great a good job until you called it out and said, "Look at it, and so that, like, I think that support for me and the market authority and with you specifically, that really helped build my confidence. Mindset is a huge piece of this business, but having somebody else see the good in you, and that like cheerleading you, that is huge.
You are easy to cheerlead and to cheer on because you're so great at what you do, but you also really like bring us along for the ride. Like I feel like you're always very sharing in where you're at in the process and what you're working on. And I think that you're a joy to work with anyways. But I agree, having that sounding board is really important because otherwise, guess what you're doing? You're comparing yourself against somebody else's highlight reel. You're comparing yourself against somebody who's in a completely different season at a completely different time. And one thing that really changed this for me, and I know that you would relate to this, is becoming a mom as a real estate agent. So I had my first son 5 years ago during COVID. When everything was wild, and the market was crazy, and then my second son in 2022. And it really, I understood that you can't just take blanket advice and you can't compare yourself, but I didn't really get it until I had to go through that and feel it so personally. And I think that there's a lot to be said about just having someone with that outside point of view kind of bring you back and say, look at this list of things. And one time you and I were talking, and within like a month or 6 weeks, we put together a list of all the things that you had achieved. And we were like, look at what you were able to do with a little bit of focus and identifying the right moving pieces.
Okay, so that is the turning point, right? You asked me from the very beginning, when did you know that you were doing? And I was like, well, I'm checking I'm doing all the things. That was the turning point for me. That right there, when you did that list for me, I was
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm getting it. I'm doing it. That was it.
It was a really cool moment. And then that was also right before you ended up going and moving forward and hiring Ziza, I think.
I think it was, yeah. I'd have to go back and look at the list.
Yeah, I lo I still have it somewhere. That was a really fun moment for me too because I just, like, I get a lot personally from watching you, like, progress and go through, and one thing that you're really good at is just and you mentioned this too, is just getting it done. Do you ever feel that you're second guessing, yourself as you're doing things anymore? Or is it really just like, "Well, I'm just gonna get it done and then trust the process, and hopefully I end up where I need to be?"
I'm a doer. So I'm like, I know no action is going to get me nowhere, so I just do it. And like if I need to fix something, I'll fix it, but I'm going to learn from doing much more than I learned from figuring like thinking.
Same, same. So with that being said, then what are you focused on in the next 90 days? Do you have any big goals or any shifts in the business coming up?
I do, like, some of my goals are boundaries.
Okay.
I'm changing my YouTube strategy a little bit, and so hopefully it was really very important to me to launch that last year, and so I did that. But I see that it's not progressing as I want, so I'm outsourcing the editing for that, and I'm really excited about what that's going to look like. And I also have videography things going on with my brokerage that we're changing, not just about houses, but about like more dynamics. So really love that. And then one of the things I've always had a goal is continue to refine my database and really get it checked in. Like I have a girl that I reached out to because I saw a woodpecker and we had to like change her beam in her new house because it had a woodpecker. And I was like, oh my gosh, I thought of you because I saw this woodpecker. And she's like, I saw you exactly a year ago. And I was like, I should have your home anniversary on my CRM. So things like
Yeah, yeah.
that I need to work on.
You're like, I know.
But
I
you know
know.
what?
It was
You
a
know what,
year ago,
Diana?
wasn't it,
We're going
right?
to dinner in a couple weeks. So I was like,
Perfect.
I'd love to.
You know what's so funny is Bryce has Time Hop on his phone. Do
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what that app is? And so every now and then he'll get a picture of like a home anniversary or something. And he's like, oh my gosh, it's been 3 years. I need to text him. And like, honestly, for him, that's kind of his system because he has this like insane streak of how many days he's open Time Hop. It's like 900 days streak or something like that, maybe
It
more.
might be a new resource.
I know, it's so funny. But anytime that's how he always like takes the picture, and then he always makes a point to just reach out to the clients, like whatever the situation is in our group text. So this is a funny little hack, but I totally know what you're talking about. Um, I could talk to you all day. I want to be a good steward of your time. I have two questions to finish out. that will end with. So if someone is where you were 12 months ago, feeling stuck or unsure or just like a little daunted at the growth that they wanted to experience, what would you say to them?
Find a community
Mm.
and mentors. Find somebody that you know will, for me, like push you and believe in you, and so that you can believe in yourself.
What has that process that you went on for yourself and finding community, getting systems, getting the coaching, what has that taught you about trusting yourself?
I think people see me more awesome than I see myself. Um, and so I think in that, I mean, I think I started this saying I've always been successful at what I do, but I've always thought it's just because I perform and I do and I go.
Mhm.
This job has changed that people really see my heart, and it's not just business, but it's my heart. And so I think that is a big difference.
I can see that. I can feel it. I love that. Okay. Do you want to do a really quick lightning round? Really quick lightning round of quick Q&A?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Favorite system or tool you use daily?
What's the calendar called?
Do you use Google or Apple or
Oh, I use the Google, like Google Calendar.
me too? Google Cal.
I
And
have
you know
Google
what's so
Calendar
funny?
on my iPhone, so I haven't like paid the extra. What ups?
Same, same. I do the
Google
exact
Calendar.
same thing. And on my Mac, I even open up the tab Google.calendar each time.
No, you can buy an app to go in.
No,
I
I
bought
can't
the
do
app.
the app. I can't
Oh,
do the app. It has
and
to be the
I can
browser.
plug it. Okay.
I,
Anyways, keep going.
I
It's the
love it.
Google Calendar.
I love it. I love it. Okay.
You said
Most,
real fast.
most satisfying task to delegate.
Social media.
Love that. Something you're proud of this year that no one sees behind the scenes.
Walking along the emotions of the hard in real estate.
Hmm. Say
I have
something.
some
Say more.
divorce.
What's that?
2 divorces that I'm working at. One is very personal, and they're selling the house, and I've been through a lot of that, emotional side of that,
Hmm.
and, people don't see all that. I'm taking some of the heat, and I know it's not personal, um, so
Yeah.
but I'm proud of that because I know that I'm there for a very important specific time, and
Mhm.
they're gonna come out on the other side,
They're lucky they have you. They're lucky they have someone who's empathetic and can walk that process with them while staying neutral.
while trying to still complete the business side of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Last question. Coffee order for a full day of showings.
So, I am just a hot black coffee.
Me too. When it's cold, hot black coffee. That's it. When it's not cold, I like cold brew.
S Same, same, but, I immediate like, in the morning, I still am black coffee no matter if it's hot or cold or whatevs the temperature.
I love that. Cheers for our little imaginary coffees. I always say one of the hardest things about what I do as like market authority and like working with agents everywhere is that I end up with all of these incredible friends who I hardly never get to see in person. And I count you as one of those people. Every time I see you show up on my feed on Instagram, I'm like, "Ooh, what's Lori doing today?" I love working with you. I love when you send me questions. I love the time that we've spent together. And truly, Lori, it has been such a gift watching your progression through the last, we've been working together for over a year, obviously, but especially this last year, I feel like I've been able to really see a lot of the intention that you've put behind the growth and how you've brought your business to where it is today. And it's an honor I don't take lightly. So I really appreciate you bringing me along for the ride and also allowing the audience who's listening to Market Short Authority Show hear your side of it too. So truly, I really appreciate you being here today, and I acknowledge how generous you are with your time.
Well, thank you so much. Same to you, and I see you as a friend. I can't wait to see you in person again, as we know, but I do see, like, it's interesting how you can build relationships long distance,
Mhm.
when you have connections, and I appreciate that about you.
Awesome. Okay. For those who want to take just continue hearing from you or follow along with your journey, where can they find you? Is Instagram the best place to connect?
Instagram is usually the best place for me. It's Laurie Brooks dot realtor is my Instagram. I also have Facebook, but Instagram is really where I do all the things. And I'm also on YouTube that gives you much more bigger picture things. But Instagram is behind the scenes, my family, my area, and just a little bit more about me.
Awesome. Guys, definitely go hang out with Lori on Instagram. Keep her in mind for your Boerne referrals. As always, Lori, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.